Hello and welcome back to my writing vlog series. In these episodes I reread my Project Katrina that I wrote back in 2019. I have read the first chapters and commented on those in general. In this writing vlog I will read chapters 14, 15 and 16. Let's get into it. I have read chapter 14 now. This is a very chill chapter. It starts pretty, I won't say slow, but it starts in an everyday situation. The MC is walking her new dog, the old dog that I had talked about before. And on this walk, she meets a guy, and he seems a bit strange at first because he's hiding behind a tree, but then he comes out when the dog is barking at him. And Katrina and this guy start talking. They kind of hit it off and get to be friends. They talk about things and life and how their parents are, and Katrina is sure that this guy is about her own age and he has to be a college student or something. And Katrina walks home to an empty house and she lets the dog play in the yard, and that's basically what happens in this chapter. There's I won't say that this chapter has a plot twist, but it has something that, if I remember correctly, it's going to be a surprise to the reader later on. I don't hope that it's too obvious what's going on in this chapter, but I will see when I send this novel to betas at some point. But on to the next chapter. I have read chapter 15. Things happen. It's a mixture between a fast-paced and a slower-paced chapter. And the main character talks to her family when they come home, and they talk about her future and what she wants to do with her life, and she surprises them by wanting to do something else than they thought she would, and they have a heart-to-heart about a few things, and she's surprised by getting a belated 18th birthday present. And that's nice because it's a car, so it's great for her. The MC has hit her head. I don't know if you noticed a pattern here, but this main character has hit her head as well. Just like the main character in the Auras of Faith/Fate project, or that novel. But this isn't that important in this story, but it plays a part in that she wants to do something else because she figures that doing something is too dangerous. You can play in the garden with your younger siblings and you can get hurt, and you can never be safe. You can't really be sure that you won't get hurt. And if you want to live your life, you have to go outside and do things, and you might as well get into trouble or get hurt if you stay at home. So you might as well do what you want to do instead of just holding back because it's safer. I think that personally I should do a few more things that are outside of my comfort zone, but doing YouTube is one of the things that I thought I wouldn't do. I have considered it for a long time before I finally did it, so I guess that my two older sisters are more adventurous and more daredevilish than I am, because they have been out skydiving. I haven't done that, and I'm not interested in doing that, but I think it's cool that they dared to do it, and luckily nothing went wrong, so it's all good. That was a side note. This story is a bit of a mix between two stories, I think, because it starts with something and then there's a change, and then it's like a different story, and she has to find her footing in a new place and new people around her and things like that. And it's a change, but now I'm wondering if that change happens not too soon, too late in the story, because maybe the reader wants to get to the meat of the story, and that's after what happens in in the beginning. or not the very beginning, there's a brief intro to her, and then bam, the inciting incident, and then something happens after that, and that goes on for several chapters before it changes again. And I'm wondering if I should change something about that, make that part of the story shorter, or maybe incorporate that better, or to a greater extent into the rest of the story. It's a bit tricky to talk about without going into details, but I hope you can manage and get an idea of what this story is like. And regarding the 27 chapter method, I think I've given up on trying to match all these points to each chapter, and it wouldn't be one-to-one anyway. But I think we are getting closer to the finale, the battle and climax and things like that, the resolution. This story is moving along pretty quickly, and I think there's a room for adding something, but maybe I should take out something as well. And maybe the first part after the inciting incident that I wrote before this shift happened, then that should be fewer chapters, but I'm not sure. I will I will figure that out when I get to the edits. But on to the next chapter. I have read chapter 16 now, and it was a pretty long chapter. Maybe I could split it into two, or make a chapter break at least, because it's over 6,000 words long. I don't know if I'm going to split it, because it flows rather nicely from one thing to another. There isn't really anything not that important that I can just take out and make a chapter break. So, or maybe I should find an interesting spot in the story to just split the chapter, but I don't know. There's nothing wrong with having long chapters in a book, so if it works, it works, and then I won't change it. But I will keep that in the back of my mind when I go to do the edits. I have a list of all of the novels I've written, and then I have in Excel, I have one line for each novel, and then I have off to the side in columns. In each column I have the number of words for chapter 1, and then chapter 2 and chapter 3, and then I can easily see at a glance how long the stories are, and how many chapters they have, and how long the chapters are. And to the far right of the document I have average numbers for each story, so I have the minimum length of each of a chapter in a story, and the longest chapter, and the average. And I think that this story has pretty long chapters on average. So maybe that's why there are only 22 chapters. If I split some of them, then I will get closer to 27 chapters, and maybe it actually fits this 27 chapter method quite nicely, but I don't know. In this chapter 16 there was a big surprise. I hope it will come as a surprise to the reader, but not out of the blue, but not too obvious either. I wanted to be like the reader goes, oh, okay, that makes sense. I kind of saw it coming, but all right, I'm going with this. And then the rest of the story will have a new focus, a new, I don't know how to phrase that, but it has new circumstances for how the rest of the story unfolds, because there's this reveal in chapter 16. So that's interesting. I think, like I said before, maybe the first part of the story takes too much space, but I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. I just figured that it's one long, cohesive and coherent story, and that everything needs to be there, but maybe the first part was a detour that the reader doesn't really need to enjoy the story and to understand it. But I don't know. It is what it is at this stage, and then I will take all of these things into consideration, and I make sure to make notes about it in the summary document and the notes section that I have there. that was it for this writing log. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you will watch the next one. Until then, take care. Thank you for watching.